So think about this for a second. What if the cardiovascular benefits of a 30-minute jog, the elevated heart rate, the intense sweat, that rush of endorphins, what if you could get all of that while sitting completely still inside a wooden box in your spare bedroom?
I mean, that sounds a little too good to be true.
Right. But between work and errands and just the endless stream of messages we all deal with, carving out time for an intensive workout or like a spa visit can feel genuinely impossible for you.
Yeah, finding me time is a universal struggle right now.
It really is. But the concept of passive heat therapy at home is kind of trying to change that math. So today, the mission of this deep dive is to unpack a really detailed review we found from pooladvisors.net. It's about the Elibbren one-person infrared sauna.
Yeah, we're going to look at the technical specs, the actual biological science of infrared heat, and the reality of the customer feedback.
Exactly, just to find out if this compact home sauna is actually worth the floor space in your house. And I have to say, looking at your video feed today, you've clearly taken this topic to heart. Your background looks like a high-end, tranquil spa.
Well, I find the environment dictates the mindset. Surrounding yourself with a bit of ambient lighting and a clean visual space, I mean, that's half the battle when you're trying to analyze the mechanics of relaxation.
Oh, totally.
And the underlying tension of this entire product is really that classic trade-off between modern convenience and traditional efficacy. We're basically looking at an appliance trying to replicate a centuries-old wellness practice, but, engineered to fit inside an apartment.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can decide if that trade-off is actually worth it, we have to understand what this thing really is. I mean, when you picture a sauna, you probably picture the local gym, right?
Oh yeah, the damp, dimly lit wooden room.
Yeah, with a metal stove piled high with rocks, and someone occasionally splashing a ladle of water over those rocks to blast the room with suffocating steam.
Right, the classic wet sauna experience.
Exactly. But the Elibbren is fundamentally a different species of appliance. It's an indoor-only, single-seat cabin, entirely dry, and it's built out of reforested Canadian hemlock wood.
And the material choice there is actually highly intentional. Like, Canadian hemlock has a very specific grain structure that makes it uniquely suited for heat therapy applications.
Because of the temperature changes.
Exactly. When wood is repeatedly exposed to high temperatures and then cooled down over and over, it expands and contracts. A lot of woods will just warp or splinter or crack under that constant thermal cycling.
But hemlock doesn't.
Right, hemlock is incredibly stable. It also has a natural resistance to moisture and mold, which is, it's critical when you're introducing intense human sweat into an enclosed space day after day.
Yeah, you definitely don't want mold in your sauna.
No, absolutely not. And manufacturer also treats it with a protective varnish to further seal the grain against that moisture.
That makes sense. But looking at the electrical specs, the power setup is what really completely changes the accessibility of this unit. Like, if you want to install a traditional electric sauna heater in your home, you're calling an electrician.
Oh, for sure. You're pulling permits.
Yeah. You have to pull a dedicated 220-volt line, hardwire it into your breaker box, and potentially spend thousands of dollars just on the electrical work alone.
Which is a huge barrier for most people.
Exactly. But the Elibbren runs on a standard 110-volt household plug.
Just a regular wall outlet.
Yeah, it simply plugs into the wall like a floor lamp. It draws 800 watts of power, which means, honestly, it uses less electricity than the hairdryer sitting on your bathroom counter.
It drastically lowers the barrier to entry.
Yeah.
But the consequence of using standard household voltage is that you simply cannot generate the raw ambient heat of a 220-volt traditional stove.
Right, it just doesn't have the juice.
Exactly. And that is where the heating technology has to pivot. So inside this hemlock cabin, the Elibbren uses 5 epoxy resin FAR infrared heating plates. That's FAR, far infrared.
So we need to break down how those plates work, because it's really the core of the entire experience. Traditional sauna heat is basically a convection oven.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right. The stove heats the air, and that superheated air, which can get to like 195 degrees Fahrenheit, eventually heats your skin. It can feel like you're breathing in fire.
It really can. It's overwhelming.
But far infrared heat doesn't care about the air. It operates on radiant energy. It's like stepping out into direct, unclouded sunlight on a freezing winter day.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah, because the air around you is cold, but the radiant energy from the sun hits your skin and warms your tissues directly.
And the use of epoxy resin in those heating plates is an important engineering detail, too.
How so?
Well, epoxy resin is an excellent electrical insulator, but it's a highly efficient thermal conductor. So it takes the heat generated by the internal carbon or ceramic elements and broadcasts it completely evenly across the entire surface of the plate.
Oh, so you don't get like one really hot spot?
Right. If you're sitting merely inches away from a heat source, you cannot have concentrated hotspots, or it will literally burn you. The resin ensures a smooth, uniform wall of radiant energy. And those far infrared wavelengths physically penetrate the surface of your skin, warming your muscle tissue from the inside out.
But, looking at the numbers, I really have to question the intensity. The Elibbren maxes out at 140 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which sounds low.
Yeah, for anyone who regularly uses a traditional sauna, 140 degrees sounds incredibly weak. I mean, if the air isn't hitting that 180 or 190 degree mark, is a maximum temperature of 140 degrees actually going to trigger a deep, meaningful sweat?
What's fascinating here is the physiological response to radiant heat versus ambient heat.
Okay.
Because those far infrared wavelengths are bypassing the air and penetrating your tissue directly, they raise your internal core temperature with remarkable efficiency. Yeah. The source material highlights clinical data from the Cleveland Clinic, demonstrating that this specific lower heat, deep penetration approach delivers a cardiovascular response almost identical to moderate intensity exercise.
Wow. Just from sitting there.
Just from sitting there. Your blood vessels dilate, your heart rate elevates to pump blood to the surface of your skin to cool you down, and your sweat glands activate aggressively. You achieve the exact same profuse sweating and elevated heart rate, but in an environment that is 40 or 50 degrees cooler than a traditional sauna.
Which means you can actually breathe.
Exactly.
You aren't gasping for oxygen or feeling like your lungs are burning. You can sit there comfortably for 30 minutes, which makes the whole process much more sustainable for a daily routine.
And that directly influences the actual in-cabin experience.
Yeah.
Because knowing the physics of infrared light is one thing, but sitting inside a 129-pound wooden box in the corner of your bedroom is another.
Right.
The environment inside that box dictates whether it's a relaxing sanctuary or, a sensory deprivation chamber.
Yeah, and the vibe inside is important. So let's talk about those built-in features that make it a personalized escape. It's got ambient top-mounted LED lighting.
Which is nice for setting the mood.
Yeah, and a tempered glass door with side windows so you don't feel claustrophobic.
And that tempered glass is necessary because regular glass would shatter under the stress of the thermal shock when the cabin heats up. But the inclusion of the glass itself serves a really important psychological purpose.
Right. It prevents you from feeling like you've been sealed inside a shipping crate. You can look out into your room, see your furniture, just maintain some spatial awareness.
It makes a huge difference.
It also features built-in Bluetooth speakers. You can sync your phone and play some acoustic guitar or an ambient soundscape. Though, digging into the sources, one reviewer specifically noted a persistent buzzing sound when they connected their phone via Bluetooth.
Ah, yeah. The audio hardware here is clearly basic.
Very basic. It's not a high-fidelity surround sound system, but it provides enough background noise to drown out the silence.
And you also have a touch control panel inside the unit to manage the time and temperature presets without opening the door and letting all the heat escape.
And looking at those presets, there is an incredibly brilliant life hack for a morning routine here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You wake up, walk over to the unit, and turn on the pre-warm cycle. Then you go jump in the shower to rinse off and wake up. By the time you step out of the shower 10 minutes later, the cabin is perfectly toasty and ready for you to step inside.
Oh, that's smart. It integrates smoothly into normal life.
It really does. But, as we talk about wellness routines, we really need to address the marketing rhetoric heavily associated with these products.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
The word detoxification.
Yeah.
It is plastered over almost every sauna listing on the internet. They imply that sitting in this box will flush heavy metals from your blood and cure systemic diseases.
Yeah, and it is crucial to draw a hard line between wellness marketing and biological reality.
These two.
Based on the references from the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic cited in the review material, the concept of flushing toxins out of your body through sweat is a physiological myth.
A total myth.
Completely. Sweat is primarily composed of water, sodium, and tiny amounts of other trace minerals. Its sole biological purpose is thermoregulation, cooling the body down through evaporation.
So it's an air conditioner, not a filter.
Exactly. Your liver and your kidneys are your detoxification organs. They filter your blood and remove waste. Your sweat glands simply do not perform that function.
We really have to stop letting companies hijack medical terminology. You cannot sweat out last night's poor dietary choices.
You really can't. However, the absence of a detoxifying effect does not negate the verified, profound medical benefits of heat therapy.
Right.
The radiant heat causes severe vasodilation. The blood vessels expand significantly, which drastically improves circulation, delivering oxygen-rich blood to muscle tissues.
Which feels amazing.
It does. It facilitates temporary but highly effective muscle relaxation, particularly in the upper back and shoulders. But more importantly for the daily user, the intense physical relaxation forces the autonomic nervous system to shift.
Shift how?
It shifts out of the sympathetic state, which is the fight or flight mode caused by daily stress, and into the parasympathetic rest and digest state. It is basically a biological off switch for anxiety.
Wow. So the health benefits, the vasodilation, the muscle recovery, that parasympathetic shift, those are robust.
Very robust.
But my immediate thought goes back to the logistics. I mean, I live in a standard house. The idea of bringing a sauna indoors usually implies hiring a contractor, tearing up drywall to install vapor barriers, dealing with specialized ventilation.
It's a huge project normally.
Right. So if the Elibbren is meant to bypass all of that, how much of a nightmare is it to actually assemble this thing?
Well, the physical build process is actually the strongest advantage this specific unit has. It ships as a collection of flat pack panels. The user does not need carpentry skills, screws, or even power tools.
Really? No tools?
No tools.
Rough.
The panels feature a snap-and-clasp buckle system. You essentially stand the walls up, align the grooves, and lock the buckles together.
That sounds suspiciously easy.
It is. The buckles create a mechanical tension seal, pulling the hemlock panels tightly enough against each other to prevent the internal heat from escaping through the seams. According to the data, a single person can assemble the entire cabin in 30 to 60 minutes.
You can build a functioning sauna faster than a flat-pack bookshelf from a furniture store.
Pretty much, yeah.
And the resulting footprint is remarkably small. It's roughly 2 feet 11 inches wide and 2 feet 3 inches deep. You could realistically slide this into a walk-in closet, the corner of a basement, or a converted spare bedroom.
And you don't have to worry about safety hazards either. The specs note an EMF rating of 5.
Right, EMF.
Yeah, for context, EMF stands for electromagnetic fields, which are emitted by any device that uses electricity. A rating of 5 milligauss is exceptionally low. It's comparable to the ambient emissions of a standard household appliance from a few feet away.
So you're not bathing in harmful electromagnetic radiation while you try to relax.
Exactly. It also has an automatic overheat shutoff sensor.
Which is a non-negotiable safety feature when you're placing a massive heating appliance in, like, a carpeted bedroom?
Absolutely non-negotiable. The engineering is highly tailored for residential convenience. But this raises an important question regarding the compromises required to achieve that convenience.
There's always a catch.
There is. The compact design imposes significant physical limitations. The interior height of the assembled cabin is exactly 4 feet, 7.75 inches.
Oh, wow. Yeah, which means if you are an adult of average height, you're going to have a very intimate relationship with the ceiling.
Very intimate.
If you are over 5 feet 7 inches tall, you will not be able to sit up completely straight. You'll be hunched over. And looking at the heating plate layout, there's another architectural flaw here. There are plates on the back and the sides, but there is no heating element located underneath the seat.
And that omission changes the thermal dynamics of the entire cabin.
Because heat rises.
Exactly. The physics of convection dictates that heat naturally rises. Without a heating element positioned at the lowest point to radiate upward, the floor and the area under the bench basically become a cold zone.
So your upper body is roasting, but your feet are cold.
Pretty much. Your torso, shoulders, and head will receive intense, penetrating warmth, but your calves and lower legs will experience a drastically lower temperature. So for an individual purchasing this unit specifically to recover from lower body fatigue, like, say, a runner looking to soothe sore calf muscles, this design will not deliver the targeted heat they require.
That is a massive variable to consider. You're basically getting an upper body sauna experience.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about the reality of assembling and using this, multiple reviewers issued a really strong warning about the provided instruction manual.
Oh, I read about that.
Yeah. The text suffers from severe translation issues, making the written steps nearly incomprehensible. If you purchase this, bypass the paper manual entirely, search for an assembly video online, and just follow the visual guide. It will save you a lot of frustration.
It really forces the consumer to evaluate their personal priorities. Like, Are the cardiovascular benefits and the convenience of a 110-volt plug worth sacrificing full-body heat coverage and vertical headroom?
Right.
It's a strict compromise between the ideal physiological experience and the spatial reality of modern housing.
Well, let's see how that compromise actually plays out for the people who spent their hard-earned money on it. We've analyzed the physics and the dimensions, but the real test is customer satisfaction.
Always.
And the data set from Wayfair gives us a very clear picture. Out of 74 verified customer reviews, the Elibbren holds an average rating of 4.7 out of 5 stars.
Which, for a large, expensive home appliance that requires self-assembly, a 4.7 average is incredibly high.
It really is. The positive feedback consistently validates the efficiency of those infrared plates we discussed earlier.
Yeah, one specific user documented their experience, noting that the cabin heated to 130 degrees Fahrenheit in exactly 15 minutes. And after a 30-minute session, they were completely soaked in sweat.
Proving that 140 max is fine.
It confirms that the 140-degree maximum is more than sufficient to trigger the desired biological response. Another reviewer summarized the unit as small but mighty, which honestly neatly captures the product's entire value proposition.
Small but mighty, so the heat works. But the negative reviews highlight the inherent risks of shipping a 129-pound wooden appliance through the standard mail network.
Yeah, shipping is always the wild card.
Several lower-rated reviews didn't actually complain about the sauna's performance, but rather the condition it arrived in. Users reported boxes showing up with transit damage or opening the package to find a hemlock panel that was slightly warped, preventing the buckles from snapping together properly.
Well, wood is a natural material, right? And variations in humidity during warehouse storage or transit can easily cause warping before the product ever reaches the consumer.
True.
However, the purchase does include safety nets. The Elibbren unit is covered by a 90-day limited product warranty, and because it's distributed through Wayfair, it's subject to their standard 30-day return policy.
So you're not just stuck with a broken box.
Right. If a panel arrives warped and cannot be assembled, the consumer has a clear avenue to request a replacement part rather than absorbing the financial loss.
Okay, so looking at the entire picture, the low voltage setup, the cramped headroom, the effective infrared heat, and the cold calves, the profile of the ideal buyer becomes very, very specific.
It really does.
This is designed for someone living in a condo, an apartment, or a house with very limited square footage. It's for a person who views heat therapy as a private, solitary routine. And crucially, it's built for someone who is 5 feet 7 inches tall or shorter.
Conversely, anyone who exceeds that height threshold will find the experience physically uncomfortable. Furthermore, this is strictly a single-user appliance.
Right, no guests.
No guests.
Yeah.
If the goal is a communal wellness activity like sitting in the heat and conversing with a partner or a family member, this model is physically incapable of accommodating that. You must seek out a multi-person unit.
And no matter who is using it, the medical warnings provided by the Cleveland Clinic must be taken seriously here. The lower ambient temperature of an infrared sauna can be deceptive.
Very deceptive. You might not feel like you're baking.
Exactly. But your body is losing fluid rapidly. You must hydrate aggressively before, during, and after your session. And if you are pregnant or if you have a pre-existing heart condition, the cardiovascular strain of the vasodilation and the elevated heart rate is a serious medical event. You really must consult your physician before subjecting your body to heat therapy.
The physiological stress is real, which is precisely why it works, but also why it demands respect.
So what does this all mean? It means the Elibbren one-person infrared sauna is a fantastic, highly functional, no-frills entry point into home wellness. If you fit the strict physical height requirements and you understand the thermal limitations of a unit without calf heaters, it successfully bypasses the massive construction and electrical hurdles of traditional saunas.
Yeah, you don't need a massive backyard or a contractor to get a legitimate, stress-relieving sweat session in your own home.
It effectively democratizes an experience that historically required a specialized commercial facility or a massive custom home renovation.
It really does.
To really grasp the scale of the compromise we've been talking about, check out the product image we've included in the sources directly on your screen. You can see the exact footprint and the glass door design. And if you have evaluated the pros and the cons and decided this compact cabin is the missing piece of your evening routine, you should definitely buy the product using the link in the description below.
The evolution of these compact units forces us to reconsider how we approach daily recovery.
It absolutely does. And I want to leave you with a final, somewhat provocative thought to mull over. We broke down the science of how 30 minutes of passive infrared heat dilates your blood vessels and elevates your heart rate to mimic moderate exercise, all without placing any physical impact on your joints. As we age, our cartilage wears down, and high-impact cardio becomes increasingly difficult. If you can achieve the internal cardiovascular benefits of a light jog simply by sitting perfectly still in a glowing wooden box in your closet, how might passive heat therapy fundamentally redefine our medical definition of a workout in the future?
It's a fascinating question.
It is. The future of longevity might not just be running on treadmills. It might look a lot like taking a nap in the warm light of an infrared panel. Keep exploring and keep questioning how you define health.
It has just begun as she puts her hand in mine.